Hi everyone. So I've kind of made like a little compound interest review. So basically what I've done is taken everything that we've discussed so far this week and put it into like one little short PowerPoint. So this right here is your formula for compound interest. So whenever you hear compound interest, this is the formula that should come to mind. I'm going to go over right now what each of these letters means because you can see right here there's tons of variables. So you have A and then in parentheses T. That just means the amount at that many years. If it's helpful for you guys, you don't have to put that T in parentheses right there. You don't even need to go ahead and put that. That amount, that A, is what, for the first couple of problems, what you are going to be finding at any given time. So your A and then in parentheses T is your amount at any given time. Basically what that means is the total amount at the end of the problem which you're solving for. P is equal to the principal, which is your initial investment. If we're taking out a loan, that's the initial amount of money that we're borrowing for a loan. If for some reason you have a down payment, when we have a loan, you're going to subtract the down payment from that initial amount, and now your new principal will be that original amount subtracted from that principal. So just say you had 3,000, you put 5,000 down, your new principal will now be 5,000. We'll go over that in a second. Next comes your R. That's your rate as a decimal. To get it to a decimal, because it's always going to be given to you as a percentage, move it 2 decimal places to the left. So for example, if you have 4.078%, it doesn't matter that there's already a decimal there. You're still going to move that decimal 2 places to the left. So 4.078% as a decimal will be 0.04078. N is the number of compounds per year, and T is your time in years. Okay, we're going to go over some key facts now. So the number of compounds, which is the letter N in your inside your equation. You see here we have an N, and up here we have an N. N is the only number that you're going to see twice in this equation. You're going to put the number of compounds down here, and you're also going to have it up here in your exponent. So if I tell you something is compounded monthly, the number of compounds is going to be equal to 12 because there's how many months in a year? 12. If I tell you something's compounded quarterly, the number is 4 because there's 4 quarters. If I tell you something's compounded semi-annually, semi means 2, so your N is going to be equal to 2. If I tell you something's compounded weekly, your N is going to be equal to 52 because there are 52 weeks in a year. And if I tell you something's compounded daily, it's always going to be equal to 365. Now, some of you have reached out and said to me, well, what if it's a leap year? It doesn't matter. You're not going to just assume that it's 365. We're never going to use 366. Assume that your N, when I tell you something's daily, is 365. So now the next thing I notice, some of you guys were getting confused on how to put the formula into your calculator. My biggest piece of advice to you is not to put it all in at once. Break it up. This is the order that I do it. So my first thing that I'm going to do is simplify the exponent. I'm going to go ahead now when everything is all filled out. I'm going to go ahead and just multiply whatever this is and just kind of rewrite it there. Or what I'll even do is I'll rewrite this entire equation again with this exponent with this multiplied out. So just say this was 4 times 5 and that gives you 20. I would rewrite everything here and then just instead of 4 times 5, I would write 20. The next thing I'm going to do is do R divided by N. Once I do that, I'm going to get some form of a decimal. It's usually always going to be less than 1. And then what I'm going to do is, because the formula says plus 1, I'm going to add that answer to 1. Then after that, so now I'm probably going to get 1 point something. Now I'm going to put that number to the exponent. So whatever I simplified, so I'm going to do that 1 point whatever, and then I'm going to hit that little caret symbol, and then I'm going to put it to whatever that exponent simplified is. Now I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to get whatever number. Now I take that number I got and multiply it by whatever our principal was, and then round it to 2 decimal places because we're talking about money. And now that is going to be your final answer. Later on, we're going to go over this again, but if you're looking for the P, so I tell you at the end of 10 years, you have $10,000. And then I give you an interest rate, I give you the number of compounds, I give you everything. I want to know, what did you invest initially? Well, if I want to know what your initial investment was, so if I want to know what your original principal was, you would do this total amount here, divided by whatever number you got over here in step 4. Once you've hit enter and put it to the exponent, of course. Why am I doing that? Because you're going to have some number times P, and we're going to basically be solving for P, so you got to divide each side by that number. So if you want to know how much total interest you're paying, or how much total interest someone's receiving, you're going to take that amount that you found as your answer and subtract it from the initial investment. You will never have a negative number. Why? Because it's always going to be a bigger number. Subtract it from a smaller number. If you have a down payment, so if we're talking about a house loan or a car loan, you're going to subtract whatever that amount is from the initial amount. So you're going to subtract it from the principal and use this new number now in the formula. You're not going to go back and use that old number. So say something costs $30,000 and you put a $5,000 loan. Well, or $5,000 down. Well, you don't need to take out a $30,000 loan because you're putting $5,000 down. So you would do 30,000 minus 5,000, you get 25,000. So now your new number you're going to use in the formula is 25,000, not 30,000. If you're looking for the monthly payments, once you get your answer, you're going to divide that final answer by the number of months for that many years. So say something is for 8 years. In 8 years, there's 96 months. So you're going to take that answer and divide it in this instance by 96. Why by 96? Because in 8 years, there's 96 months. So there's going to be 96 payments. If the amounts seem astronomical or they seem too much, double check your work. Remember, we're talking about money. So if it seems too much, recheck your steps. Here's a little hint. For some reason, if you get, like, if your initial investment is $5,000 and you're getting like 20,000, 60,000 as your final answer, you probably did something wrong. You probably might have done that first step wrong or something with that, or you might not have put parentheses. You're probably just off a little somewhere. Just double check your work, because if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.